19 ripe tomatoes. That is what I picked last Tuesday morning off 2 plants growing in 5-gallon buckets on my apartment balcony, counting them into a mixing bowl like it was Christmas morning. 3 years ago, I could not keep a cactus alive. I killed a cactus, folks. That takes real commitment. But these days, that balcony looks like a little farm. The kitchen windowsill is a row of green glass jars, and my grocery bill is down by nearly a third. I did not buy a greenhouse. I did not buy a shelf of fancy fertilizer bottles. I do not even have a yard. What changed is 8 small things I do every single day, and not one of them takes longer than brushing your teeth. Today, I am going to walk you through all 8 in the exact order I do them, from the first sip of morning coffee to the last look before dark. And stay with me for number 8, because it takes 2 seconds, costs nothing, and it is the single biggest reason my tomato harvest doubled last summer. It works because of one very specific job a bumblebee does, a job almost nobody ever explains. And once you hear it, you will never look at a tomato flower the same way again. I'm Jake, and most folks know me as Backyard Buddy. 3 years ago, a bunch of green onion ends I tossed at the trash can missed, landed in a glass of water on the counter, and sprouted 2 inches of bright green in 3 days. Since then, I have regrown hundreds of plants from kitchen scraps, green onions, lettuce, celery, potatoes, ginger, herbs, tomatoes, and peppers, right here on my windowsills and balcony. And half of what you are about to hear came from my neighbor Gloria, a retired school teacher 2 floors up, who has been growing food on her balcony for 20 years. Now, before the first daily habit, let me guess where you are standing, because I have stood exactly there. You bought the little pot of basil at the grocery store for $4. It looked beautiful on the kitchen counter for about 10 days, and then it flopped over like it had given up on life. You planted a tomato in a pot on the patio, watered it whenever you remembered, and got 3 sad tomatoes for a whole summer of trying. So you figured you just were not born with a green thumb. Friend, I killed a cactus. Nobody is born with it. Here is what finally fixed it for me, and it did not cost a dime. Plants keep daily time. Every single day they are drinking, leaning, growing, and blooming, and the gardener who shows up for 2 minutes a day will beat the gardener who shows up for 2 hours on Saturday every single time. 8 tiny habits, most of them under a minute, all of them free or close to it. That is the whole routine. And keep number 8 in your back pocket while we go, the 2-second bumblebee one, because I promise the reason it works is stranger and simpler than whatever you are guessing right now. Now, this whole daily routine came straight out of the same notebook that became my book, The 30-Day Kitchen Scrap Garden Protocol. It is the complete 30-day plan for turning the scraps your kitchen already throws away into growing food, written for absolute beginners with 0 experience, 0 yard, and close to 0 budget. Inside are 31 crops you can regrow from scraps, each with its own plain instructions, plus the $10 starter kit you mostly already own, the day-by-day plan from your first glass of water to your first harvests, and honest troubleshooting for when a scrap sulks. It is $17 right now, marked down from $47. $17 one time against a grocery bill that gets a little smaller every single week after. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right, grab that coffee, because number 1 starts before you finish the first cup. Number 1, the 2-minute tour. Every morning, while the coffee is still too hot to drink, I walk the balcony and the windowsills with the mug in my hand, and I just look. That is the whole habit. I am not fixing anything yet. I am only looking at the leaves, at the stems, at the soil, one container at a time. And the most important part is this. I flip a few leaves over and check the undersides, because that shady spot under a leaf is where trouble likes to get started. Aphids, those little green or black specks about the size of half a grain of rice, always show up on the undersides first, huddled along the stem like they are waiting for a bus. Catch a dozen aphids on day one, and your finger and thumb are the only tools you will ever need. Give them a week instead, and a dozen becomes hundreds. The new leaves curl up sticky. And now, you are in a real fight. It is the same story with the first yellow leaf, the first spot of white powder, the first bit of soil shrinking away from the side of the pot. Every garden problem whispers before it yells, and the morning tour is how you hear the whisper. But hear me on this, the tour is not all bad news patrol. Some mornings it is just me discovering that the pepper plant opened 4 new flowers overnight, and I will tell you, that beats anything in the morning paper. Take your time out there. There is no rush at all. 2 minutes, that is the whole job. 2 minutes with a coffee mug. And while you stand there looking, the tour is already answering the next question for you, which is, who needs a drink today? That is number 2, and the answer has nothing to do with how the soil looks. Number 2, the finger test before any water gets poured. This one habit probably saves more container plants than everything else on this list put together. Before I water any pot, I push my fingers straight down into the soil, 2 inches deep. 2 inches, that is roughly down to your second knuckle. If the soil feels dry at 2 inches, that plant gets a drink. If it feels damp, I walk away, no matter what the surface looks like. And that last part is the trick, because the top of a pot lies to you. Sunshine and moving air dry out the top half-inch fast, so the surface looks pale and parched, while 2 inches down the soil is still holding plenty from the last watering. Water again on top of that, and again the next day, and the soil down where the roots live never gets a chance to breathe. Because here's the piece almost nobody ever mentions. Roots do not just drink, roots breathe. They pull air from the little pockets between the crumbs of soil, and when a pot stays soggy day after day, those pockets stay flooded and the roots slowly drown in the dark while the top of the plant wilts. And what do we do when a plant wilts? We water it more. I lost most of my first summer that way, drowning plants with kindness. So let the finger decide, not the calendar, and not your worry. Gloria calls her finger the only moisture meter that never needs batteries, and after 20 years on her balcony, I am not arguing with her. So, the finger test, one more time. Push down 2 inches, dry means water, damp means wait. 10 seconds a pot. And once the finger says yes, when you pour, and where you pour matter almost as much as whether you pour, and that is number 3. Number 3. Water in the morning and water at the base. When a plant does need a drink, the clock matters more than folks think. I water in the morning with the same old watering can before the day heats up, and there are 2 simple reasons. First, a plant that drinks in the morning has a full tank before the hot afternoon sun starts pulling water out of its leaves, so it sails through the heat instead of fainting at 3 in the afternoon. Second, any splash that lands on the leaves in the morning has all day in the sunshine to dry off. Water that same plant at 8 in the evening, and the wet leaves sit cool and damp all night long, and cool, damp, and dark is the exact welcome mat that mildew and leaf fungus are looking for. That is why tomato leaves go spotty on the very people who love their plants the most. Now where the water goes matters too. I pour slowly at the base of the plant, right at the soil, not over the top like a rain shower. The soil is the mouth, so that is where the drink goes, and the leaves stay dry. Pour slow and steady until you see water start to run out of the drainage hole at the bottom of the pot, then stop. That little run out is your proof that the whole root ball got wet, not just the top layer. So, morning when you can, always at the base, slow pour until the drainage hole drips, then done. And listen, if life happens and you miss a morning and evening drink at the base still beats a bone-dry plant, just keep the water off the leaves. This is a garden, not a drill sergeant. Now, number 4 is the one that makes visitors think I went out and bought new plants. It takes 5 seconds a pot, and it fixes a problem you have definitely seen on your own windowsill. Number 4, the quarter turn. Every day, every pot on a windowsill or up against the balcony wall gets turned 1/4 of the way around. Same direction every time, so I do not lose track. That is the entire habit. 5 seconds a pot. Why bother? Because plants lean. On a windowsill, a plant only gets light from one side, and it will stretch and bow toward the glass like it is trying to climb out, until you have a leaning tower of basil with a long, bare stem, and all its leaves crowded on one side. You have seen it. That houseplant by the window doing a slow bow to the street. The lean is the plant telling you it is starving on one side. The quarter turn feeds all 4 sides evenly, one day at a time. And what you get back is a plant that grows straight, stocky, and full all the way around, the kind that looks like it came out of a greenhouse. I put a little dab of chalk on the rim of each pot so I can see at a glance who has been turned and who has not, and a strip of masking tape works just the same. Turn them while the coffee brews or while the toast is down. It does not matter when. It only matters that it happens most days. I mean, think about that for a second. The difference between the sad leaning plant and the full straight one is 5 seconds and a chalk mark. All right, quick breath, because we are halfway home. Morning tour, finger test, water at the base, quarter turn. 4 habits, maybe 5 minutes altogether, and every one of them free. The next 4 are where the food really starts stacking up. And no, I have not forgotten the bumblebee trick. Number 8 is coming, and it is worth the wait. First, number 5, which lives on the kitchen windowsill. Number 5, fresh water for every glass and jar. If you have been around this channel a while, you know my kitchen windowsill is lined with glasses, green onion ends, a celery base, a lettuce heart with little white roots reaching down like tassels. Those glasses are the cheapest garden in America, and they only ask one thing of you: fresh water every day or 2. Here's why. Water sitting still in a warm kitchen slowly loses its oxygen, and roots in a glass are drinking and breathing at the same time. Let a glass stand for 3 or 4 days, and the water goes cloudy, then slimy. And a slimy glass is a scrap that stalls out and starts smelling like a pond. So every morning, I tip the old water into a houseplant, give the roots a gentle rinse under the tap with cool water, and refill. And watch the depth when you refill. 1 inch of water, 1 inch, just enough to cover the roots and the very bottom of the scrap. Never the whole thing, because a scrap sitting fully underwater does not root, it rots. The whole windowsill lineup takes about 30 seconds, and while I am standing at the sink, I glance at the cutting board, because most days the kitchen hands you a new recruit. The root end of an onion, the stump off a head of romaine. That's not garbage, that's groceries. Drop it in its own glass, 1 inch of water, and you are in business. All right, number 6. And fair warning, this one feels backwards the first week you do it. Number 6. Pick a little every single day. This is the habit that feels wrong. So let me say it plainly. With most herbs and leafy plants, the more you take, the more they make. A basil plant you never touch grows into a tall, thin stick that flowers early and quits on you. A basil plant you pinch a little every day turns into a bush. The trick is where you pinch. Look down the stem for a node, and a node is just the little joint where a pair of leaves meets the stem. Pinch or snip the stem just above one of those joints. From that spot, the plant answers by sending out 2 new stems where there used to be one. Pinch a few of those a week later, above a joint again, and 2 becomes 4, and 4 becomes 8. And that is how one $3 basil plant ends up making more basil than your spaghetti sauce can keep up with. Lettuce and leafy greens have their own version of this. Take the big outer leaves around the edges and leave the center alone, because the center is the factory where the new leaves are made, and keep every harvest gentle. Never strip more than about 1/3 of any plant at once. 1/3, that is 1 leaf out of every 3 tops. Do the math on your grocery receipt sometime. Those little plastic clamshells of herbs run $3 or $4 each at the store, and a daily pinch replaces them all season for free, which, looking back, is a big piece of why my bill dropped the way it did. Now, number 7 is the closing shift, the 5 minutes before dark, and one of its 2 jobs protects your plants from something you are probably leaving under the pots right now. Number 7, the evening once over. 5 minutes, 2 jobs, right before dark. Job 1, the dead leaves come off. Any leaf that has gone fully yellow or brown gets a gentle pinch at its base and goes into the scrap bowl. A dying leaf is not resting. The plant is still spending effort on it, and once it drops and lies on the soil, it becomes a damp little blanket where mold gets started and pests hide out overnight. Clean plants stay healthy plants, and this takes seconds. Job 2, and almost nobody ever mentions this part, check under every pot and empty the saucers. Those saucers under your containers catch the runout from watering. And if that water is still standing there in the evening, your plant spends all night sitting with its feet in a puddle. The roots at the bottom of the pot stay waterlogged, they cannot breathe, and rot moves in from below while everything up top still looks fine. In summer, a saucer of old standing water is also a free maternity ward for mosquitoes, and nobody signed up for that. So tip every saucer out every evening. Every saucer, every evening. 30 seconds, tops. Then I stand back with the last of my evening coffee, decaf at this point. I am not a wild man, and take one more slow look at the whole balcony, because tomorrow morning the tour starts again. And then, right before I head inside, I do the very last habit on the list, the strangest one and the easiest one. The one Gloria showed me on her balcony 3 summers ago while her tomato plants stood there loaded like Christmas trees. Number 8, the 2-second flick. Here it is, the one I promised you. When my tomato and pepper plants are in flower, once a day, around the middle of the day, I reach out and give each flower cluster a gentle flick with my finger. Flick, flick. 2 seconds a plant. From the next balcony over, it probably looks like I am scolding my tomatoes. That little flick is the single biggest reason my harvest doubled last summer. And to understand why, you need to hear about the one job a bumblebee does that almost nobody ever talks about. A tomato flower does not offer its pollen out in the open the way most flowers do. Look closely at that little yellow flower, and you will see a cone in the middle, and the pollen is sealed up inside that cone, locked in little chambers like salt inside a salt shaker with the holes taped over. Wind drifting past does very little. Even a honeybee strolling around on the petals does very little. Out in an open garden, the job gets done by bumblebees, and they do it in a way that sounds made up. A bumblebee lands, bites down on that cone to hold on, unhooks its wings from its flight muscles, and then revs those muscles anyway, buzzing at just the right pitch, and that vibration shakes the pollen loose inside the flower, like somebody drumming on the bottom of the salt shaker. The pollen dumps out onto the bee and onto the flower itself, and because a tomato flower can pollinate itself, that shaking alone is what sets the fruit. Scientists call it buzz pollination. Gloria calls it giving the flowers a talking to. Now, think about a balcony 3 floors up, or a screened porch, or a sunny window indoors. The flowers open right on schedule. They look perfect. But no bumblebee ever finds them. The air barely moves, and one by one those perfect little flowers dry up and drop off without setting a single tomato. Folks watch that happen and swear the plant is broken, or the seed was bad, or they were born with the black thumb. The plant was never broken. It was waiting for a delivery, and the delivery never came. Your finger is the bumblebee. That flick vibrates the cone, the pollen shakes loose inside, and the flower sets fruit. No bee required. The middle of the day is when it works best, because by then the morning damp has burned off, and dry pollen shakes free like powder while damp pollen sticks to the walls of the shaker. And if you want to feel fancy, an electric toothbrush held against the flower stem for 1 second does the same job with a proper buzz. I keep a $2 one on the balcony shelf just for the tomatoes. The summer I started doing this, the same plants, in the same 5-gallon buckets, in the same sun, went from dropping half their flowers to setting fruit on nearly every cluster. 2 seconds a day. That is the whole secret, and now you know exactly why it works. And that is the whole idea, one small daily habit at a time. The book works the same way, day by day, starting with what is already in your kitchen tonight. The 30-day kitchen scrap garden protocol is $17 right now, marked down from $47, and it takes a complete beginner from the first glass of water all the way to the first harvests, 31 crops, day by day, with honest troubleshooting for every scrap that sulks along the way. $17, one time. My grocery bill has been down by nearly 1/3 for 3 years, and that is the honest math. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time, there is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. So there they are, the 8 habits. Look first with your coffee, let the finger decide. Water mornings at the base, give every pot a quarter turn. Fresh water in the glasses, pick a little every day. Clear the dead leaves and empty the saucers, and give those flowers a flick. That is how 19 tomatoes end up in a mixing bowl on an apartment balcony. Tell me in the comments the first scrap you're going to regrow, or the one you've already got going on the windowsill. I read every single one. Next time, I am going to show you exactly what I do with a 50-cent celery base, because it will hand you fresh stalks on the windowsill for months, and the first 3 days are where almost everybody goes wrong. Don't throw it away. Grow it. I'll see you next time, buddy.